Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Well, Christmas has come once again. We can all enjoy our presents now that it's Boxing Day. And as we're in Christmas 2022, I felt that now would be a good time to talk about the Raymond Briggs classic, The Snowman. The Snowman is a 1982 British animated television film based on Raymond Briggs' 1978 picture book, The Snowman. It was directed by Diane Jackson for Channel 4 and first aired on the 26th of December 1982. It was nominated for Best Animated Short Film at the 55th Academy Awards and won a BAFTA TV award. And it got so popular that they even made an animated sequel for 2012, The Snowman and the Snow Dog. And since today marks the 40th anniversary of when this special first aired back in the days, I thought it would be really fitting to go through it this year. Being a Christmas special that I hadn't seen since I was a child, it was definitely a breath of fresh air revisiting this again after so long. Just watching an old hand-drawn animated film from the 1980s. You've heard me talk about his Father Christmas adventure a few years ago, so what do I think of his original Christmas tale based on a snowman? Let's have a look. After a night of heavy snowfall, James, a young boy, wakes up and plays in the snow, eventually building a large snowman. At the stroke of midnight, he sneaks downstairs to find the snowman magically comes to life. James shows the snowman around his house, playing with appliances, toys, and other bric-a-brac, all while keeping quiet enough not to wake James's parents. The two find a sheeted down motorbike in the house's garden and go for a ride on it through the woods. Its engine heat starts to melt the snowman and he cools off, luxuriating in a garage freezer. Seeing a picture of the Arctic on a packet in the freezer, the snowman is agitated and takes the boy in hand, running through the garden until they take flight. Seeing the Royal Pavilion and Brighton Palace Pier, and north along the coast of Norway. They continue through an Arctic landscape and into the Aurora Borealis.
Aurora Borealis! At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, yes.
They land in a snow-covered forest where they join a party of snowmen. They eventually meet Father Christmas along with his reindeer. He gives the boy a card and a scarf with a snowman pattern. The snowman returns home with James before the sun rises and the two bid farewell for the night. The following morning, James wakes up to find the snowman has melted, leaving only his hat, scarf, coal eyes, tangerine nose, and coal buttons in a pile of melted snow. After discovering the snowman's scarf in his pocket from the night prior, confirming that the events were real and not a dream, James kneels down by the snowman's remains while holding his scarf, mourning for the loss of his friend. Snowman is honestly one of the most whimsical Christmas tales I have ever seen in years. This is one of the most stunning animated films I've ever seen in my lifetime, mainly due to the fact that it's hand-drawn. And the way it's hand-drawn just makes it look like it came from the book directly. And you can see all the pencil lines in the drawings as well. Especially when the characters move around and interact with stuff, you can definitely see all the pencil lines that go into the animation. And it's a breath of fresh air if you watch this special, especially since we're now living in a world where animation is dominated by computers. So it's a real breath of fresh air for everyone in this generation to see an animated film that's completely hand-drawn. Compare this film to Father Christmas, which came out a few years later. This film has no dialogue in it. It's a silent picture. It's one of those Christmas specials that doesn't really need any dialogue to be enjoyed. Just the emotions of the characters and the beautiful hand drawings are enough to show you the story. You can see how the characters are feeling with every frame of this film, and the story is so simple that you don't really matter that it doesn't have any dialogue. It's a film that can be enjoyed in any country, much like Pingu, where you don't know what the characters are saying, but you don't need to be able to enjoy it. It's also unlike most Christmas specials you see nowadays, where there has to be a villain who hates Christmas and the hero shows them the true meaning of Christmas or stops their plans in some way or another. It's just a simple, whimsical tale about a snowman that comes to life and hangs out with a little boy. And the simple things are really all you need a lot of the times at Christmas. And the music is just so whimsical and Christmassy that it makes me feel all Christmassy inside. And it's also become really famous for the song Walking in the Air, which you hear on the radio all the time around Christmas. And you can't blame them for playing it every Christmas, it's just such a whimsical song. It was sung by Peter Orty, who was not credited in the original version, and yet he was given credit on the 20th anniversary version. And since then the song has been covered by other people. Then in 1985 the song was covered by Aled Jones in a single which peaked at number 5 on the UK singles chart. The song's just left a huge impact on everyone that everyone always associated around Christmas time. And my favourite part of this whole film, aside from the Walking in the Air musical number, is the Snowman party in the North Pole. Just seeing all these different snowmen is just stunning to me. It just looks like a big Christmas party that you never want to end. And we get lots of different snowmen wearing different outfits. You see snowmen wearing Christmas cracker hats, winter hats. You even see one wearing a kilt. When was the last time you ever saw a snowman wear a kilt? That's just an awesome image. They even had Father Christmas return to the party in the film Father Christmas, just to make a nice nod to that previous film. Another thing I find really unique about this film is the fact that it starts off being really whimsical and happy, but then has that ultra sad ending when you see that the snowman is melted the next morning. Quite funny how the whole film goes off with being whimsical and cheerful, and then it just ends on a sad note. That's not very often that happens in Christmas specials. Well, most of the ones I've seen anyway. There have been some sad endings in Doctor Who Christmas specials as well. And just having the snowman melt and die like that at the end is a really sad way to end a Christmas special, don't you think? But it does get more people talking about it and remembering it over the years, so you can't really fault it for that, can you? This is one of those endings that doesn't talk down to the kids, and I really like that. It's one of those endings that doesn't sugarcoat anything and just gives you the straight up details. Not dumbing down to the children just because it's a family film. And I really love the friendship that was made between the boy and the snowman throughout the film. Even though the snowman was going to melt in the end of the story, you can really tell how much they bonded throughout the story. Just seeing all the fun activities they do, from exploring things around the house, riding a motorbike, flying over England and travelling to the North Pole for a snowman party to meet Father Christmas. You can tell how much they're really bonding throughout this story, which makes the ending all the more sad. This is another one of those Christmas specials I hadn't seen since I was a child, but I've heard the song Walking in the Air multiple times this time of year. So it was really nice and refreshing to revisit it again after all these years. And when you rewatch the moment where they're flying over the world just to get to the North Pole for the snowman party, it honestly looks like something that could have come out of a 3D movie. If they'd remake this movie for the 3D format, then I would definitely go see it on the big screen, just to get that 3D experience when they're flying over the world. It's just one of those awesome iconic moments that associates with this film as well as Christmas in general. I even got to ride a simulator ride for it at Bristol in the Explore area. And it got so popular that eventually in 2012 they made a sequel to the story, The Snowman and the Snow Dog, which I still have yet to see, but I'm sure it'll be as good as the original. Please don't give me any spoilers, I really want to find out for myself. They even made Iron Brew adverts based on the short film, and if you've seen it then you'll know that it's funny as hell. Many people love this film, and having rewatched it again after all these years, I can see why. It's a lovely whimsical hand-drawn Christmas special that you can watch around Christmas time and just get in the Christmas spirit. And as I said, it's a nice change of pace for today's generation to see a completely hand-drawn special compared to the computer-animated ones we see nowadays. In my mind, The Snowman is definitely one of the best Christmas specials you'll ever see on television. It's one of those few specials that's centered around Christmas that is traditionally hand-drawn. In a world that's dominated by computer animation, this is one of the best hand-drawn specials that you'll ever see. If you haven't watched The Snowman in years or just haven't seen it at all, then I would definitely recommend checking it out at Christmas. It's a lovely whimsical story with no dialogue, a simple story, and it just feels so Christmassy that you'll want to watch it again and again and again. It's definitely worth your time. Well, I hope you've all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everyone, and look out for more reviews next year. I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you in 2023, folks. Merry Christmas. Take it away, montage.